Hello everybody, Cal Banyan here on calbanyan.com, and I'm so excited to be back here for another really good podcast. And I know it's one of my favorite subjects, and that is age regression, hypnotic age regression. I would probably not be in this profession at all, except for that I thought that was probably the most powerful technique available. At the time, I was doing psychology work, but I was thinking to the psychologist, but now as a hypnotist, it's obviously the most powerful technique that we have. And kind of push a button here. Okay, let me tell you what. We're going to be talking about, we're you know, when Erika and I were talking about this before the video, we were calling it advanced age regression language or languaging and stuff like that. And what it really is essential age regression language if you want maximum results. So we're going to really be talking about some nuances in languaging and some building blocks of languaging in doing age regression work. A lot of people, they try to do age regression work and it just goes to pieces on them. And there's some fundamentals that you need to have in place to do that. All right, let me introduce Erika. Erika is, when I think about her right now, I just think I used to call her an up-and-comer, and now she's really becoming a force in the profession as someone who's really making a difference. She's a five-pather. She's a certified five-path hypnosis instructor. She teaches my courses. She sees clients. She supervises hypnotists. She's like my mini-me. Yeah, she's really doing everything. She, in addition to doing everything that I do, she inspires me with her own insights. She started off in the world of computer science, and one day she decided, the heck with this hardware and software and all this stuff. She wanted to work with the most powerful computer known to humankind. The BioWare, the brain, that spot between the two ears. And she started looking at how can I start working on that? And she learned about hypnosis, took a local hypnosis class, stoked her fire for the world of hypnosis, and she didn't have enough to really get started in the profession. So she did some asking around, and she found out, hey, if you want to be really great in the profession, the best way to get started is to become a five-pather. And the fastest way to become a five-pather is to get the five-path DVD set, which is a recording of a live class. So she did that, and very quickly she was able to start seeing clients. Then afterwards, she even sharpened her axe a little bit more by coming to a live session, and live course. Met her at the National Guild of Hypnotists. I was very impressed. And now today, she is my co-host. She's a writer. She's a speaker at the convention, Solid Gold Weekend. And I could not be more proud of a five-pather than I am of Erika. How you doing, Erika?
Hi, Cal. Thank you so much for that introduction. And I am happy to be a mini you. And I'm inspired by you every single day, which is just, I love doing these videos because we learn more things just even right here as we are talking. So let me tell everybody about you, but I have something that I want to say about that. Cal Banyan is the authority on hypnosis that actually works. And let me tell you guys about that, because this is the hypnosis that you're going to use in your office every single day. But it doesn't stop there, because the excellent, amazing thing about Cal is that he's constantly creating new material. He's constantly updating, upgrading. You know how your software is constantly upgraded? Well, guess what? Five-path is constantly upgraded. And where does that come from? Well, it comes from him, and it comes from him having this amazing insight. So just by hanging out with him here, by creating these videos in a very short amount of time, I'm already learning more things. So I'm very happy to be a part of all of the things that he is doing. He is super smart. He's amazing. He's able to take these complex ideas and put them into concise, bite-sized chunks that new hypnotists can consume, and hypnotists that have been doing it for a long time can consume and put into their practice. Now, he's been in the profession for over 20 years. He's won nearly every single award from the National Guild of Hypnotists, which is the oldest and largest hypnosis professional organization in the world. He's an author, he's a speaker, he's a trainer, he's still teaching classes. He is the trainer of some of the best in the profession, and he's the one that the experts go to when they need guidance, when they need questions. And I'm honored to be here spending time with you today, Cal. We're just having so much fun. So let's get rolling on age regression. This is going to be a great topic, right?
It is one of my favorite topics, and it's one of my favorite things to do is to talk about one of my favorite topics with you.
Very good, very good. So advanced age regression language techniques. I was calling it language because, this came up in a recent class I was teaching. Students were questioning some of the language and why do we say certain things and why do we do certain things in certain ways. So I thought it would be a great topic for this episode to help everybody understand. You know what, when you're doing a technique like age regression that is super powerful, you want to be able to do it really, really well. You want to be able to do it expertly so that you can get the best results for your client. And so there are some specific techniques that make the hypnosis age regression process go really well. That's what we're going to be talking about today. So the first thing that I wanted to start with is when we are, Cal, did you want to say anything about age regression before we start with the technique?
Why, yes, I do. I want to set this up. All right. Before we get right into the bullet points that Erika's going to go through, I want to prep some things. I've seen people get excited about age regression, read books on it, take a class here and there, and blah, 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 and then absolutely fail. It's because they didn't lay the groundwork. You have to have an excellent pre-talk. You have to remove fears and misconceptions about hypnosis or they will not go deep enough. You must have a level of at least stage 4 on the Harry Aaron scale. I call that the threshold of somnambulism. You must have some level of somnambulism because an age regression is a hypnotically induced hallucination. They're going to be tasting, smelling, feeling things that don't exist in the present. It's a hallucination. So you must do your preparation work excellently. You are way better off if you use an induction that is designed to take someone into somnambulism. The two main inductions I use all the time I use 3 inductions all the time for age regression. I do the 5-path induction. It was designed to take someone quickly into age regression, into somnambulism, covertly testing for somnambulism. And that is the 5-path induction. You can get that on 5pathinduction.com. I gave it to the world. Anyone can use it. You have to buy it from me. Also, there's the 8-word induction. Look that up, 8wordinduction.com. And you're going to find out that can take someone into somnambulism very, very quickly. And the third is the time tunneling technique induction. You got to have your inductions. You got to have your convincers in place. And it doesn't take long. These are short, instantaneous, or rapid inductions. And then when you do the age regression, if you don't have somnambulism, you don't have age regression. You have hypermnesia at best, which is improved memory. Age regression is a revivification, a reliving of the event. Okay, I got that off my chest.
Okay, thank you very much, Cal. So part of the technique is we're going to ask our client to bring, and this is, this is one way that we do this. There's a lot to this, and Cal said that in this previous video, there are so many videos that we have on age regression. So we're zooming in on one particular area today. Sign up on calbanyan.com for all of the videos there. You can get all of the details on all of the age regression techniques. But today, so I don't want you guys to get confused or overwhelmed here. In age regression, you're going to have your client bring up a feeling that has everything to do with why they're coming in to see you, and then you're going to ask them to follow it back to a previous time that they felt the exact same way. Right, Cal?
Yes, I'm writing some notes down here as you're talking. Oh, right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, very good. So then what's going to happen? All right, so it goes something like this: 5, 4, 3, younger and smaller, 2, be there. Now, we say be there, we want our client to be revivifying. The first thing that we're going to do when we say be there is we're going to do something called the Gestalt, which is all about setting the stage. First impression, is it daytime or nighttime? You're going to wait for their response. First impression, are you indoors or out? So let me just pause right there, because one thing that I want to say, and then I'm going to pass it to you, Cal. To me, I've always thought of this like I'm sitting in a play and the curtains open and like the lights start to come on, and so it's almost like you're trying to build the scene in your mind. And I think that's what's happening in the minds of our clients. They're really trying to we're trying to help them build that scene in their mind by asking them these questions at the beginning. So what else do you want to say about this Gestalt and how important this aspect is to age regression?
A little bit of history on this. The daytime, nighttime, indoors, outdoors, alone, or with someone is, I don't know who originated that. I know that Jerry Kine used to teach it. All the stuff that I really like that Jerry Kine taught really came from Gil Boyne, so it may go back there. But with my psychology background, I really saw that as we're setting up the Gestalt, the background, the setting for the age regression. Most people, when you do an age regression, you can't just say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, be there, and boom, it's 3D, Technicolor, vivid, everything. And so it gives them time to kind of let that stage be set. And it goes from the most general to more specific. Is it daytime or nighttime? That's very, very general. Are you indoors or outdoors? It's a little bit more specific. And then are you alone or with someone? And that now, if there's another actor on that stage, boom, they appear right there with them. Please continue.
All right, very good. And there's another piece of language, since we're talking about language here today, that is important there. First impression, right? It doesn't have to be exactly right, just in about 1 second. What's your first impression here about this? Is it daytime or night? So with first impression, that helps our clients understand that we really do want to understand what is their first impression about this situation. We don't want them sitting there and considering it or thinking about it too long, right, Cal?
Right, because what will happen is they'll start filtering. They'll start filtering out this, and they want to be exactly right. And so I'll say, hey, quickly, first impression, 1, 2, 3, daytime, nighttime. And then I think you wanted to talk about some of the prep work we will do with some people too.
Right. So for some folks that we consider to be extremely analytical, or maybe even a little bit of the perfectionist, like we talked about in the previous episode, we can do something that is a preparation for that particular client. And this is usually done outside of hypnosis, either in the part of the hypnosis pre-talk, or perhaps even right as you're moving into the hypnosis before you do the hypnotic induction. And you can say something like this: today's session is going to be even more interactive. I'm going to be asking you questions, and I want you to respond with your very first impression. So I'm going to ask you a few questions right now. It doesn't have to be the right answer, just your first impression. All right, here we go. Black or white? And they'll answer red or yellow, up or down, car or truck, cat or dog, sun or moon. You can come up with your own questions there if you'd like. And so we're just kind of getting them accustomed to answering quickly. After that, I'll say, so if during the session you hear me say just your first impression, you'll know that I really just want your first impression. It doesn't have to be exactly right. Is that okay with you? So there's just a little bit of preparation there, a little bit in the setup. It's kind of like how we want to do the really awesome hypnosis pre-talk to get them set up. This is about that as well. Anything else you want to add to that, Cal?
Well, yeah, there's some cool things you can do with that, and this really only takes about a minute. And so if I'm with someone that I'm noticing that they're just like taking a long time to respond, they're really overthinking things, then I'll say, hey, I want to run something by you that we're going to be doing in the session. And I'll say, we're going to do a little exercise here. The object of this exercise is to respond quickly. The answer that you give me does not make it right. The only thing that makes it right is if you can answer within about a second. Is that okay with you? Yes. And then I'll go through some questions like she said. Like Erika said, daytime, black, white, up, down, green, blue, hot, cold. But then I'll actually say the Gestalt questions too, so that they have practice answering them too. Daytime, nighttime, indoors or outdoors, alone or with someone. And I say, when I ask you questions like that in the hypnosis session, would you be willing to answer them that way? Yes, boom, now I got contract, agreement, expectation, proof that they can do it. Now they can't say, I can't respond that quickly. I know they can because they just did it at the desk. How's that?
Perfect. I love that. That's very good. And so it just helps the client when we're in that situation, you know, give me your first impression, and then they know exactly what to do, right? Yes, so that takes us then to the next part, which is the Fab Five. So this is really the crux of why I wanted to do this episode here today, because a couple questions came up when I was recently teaching. One of the questions was the distinction between one of the Fab Five questions. Now, the distinction, and let me see, Cal, do you want me to do all Fab Five questions first, or should I just dive right in?
Let's do the Fab Five, all of them first, and then we'll tweak that one you want to tweak, but let me introduce something first. Okay, so, you know, like I said, I'm in this profession because of age regression. That's what turned me on. So I started reading everything I could about age regression. I was listening to audios of people doing age regression, watching videos of age regression, and I was, you know, everything. If they had age regression tweets back then, I'd be tweeting about age regression, reading those. And I noticed that people were spending a lot of time on stuff that didn't matter. You see, when you get to the end of the regression, then you know what matters. In the middle of the regression, back in the day, before the Fab Five, people didn't know what to spend time on, and they'd spend way too much time on stuff that didn't matter. And so I believe that being a professional involves being efficient and effective. And so through observation and doing lots and lots of age regression sessions, I came up with the Fab Five. These are the minimum amount of information that you must have from each event that you visit. There's a couple of other things that are optional, but this is it. And you can get this information very quickly. I mean, you can get it in a minute and a half, and then if you're not at the ISC yet, initial sensitizing event, where it all began, you can just keep drilling back. So if you've got 10 events to go through, and if you spend 10 minutes on each one, now you're way over an hour and a half just trying to find the ISC, where if you're spending only a minute on each one, then in 10 minutes, you're at ISC. So it's a tremendous thing. We're going to go through those one by one. Proceed.
Very good, thank you. So the very first question, well, and they can go in certain orders, but and I'll let you address that, Cal, but the first one that I'm going to go through is what's happening, right? You're going to do the Gestalt, daytime, nighttime, indoors, outdoors, alone or with someone. If somebody's there, who's there? Okay, with mom, what's happening, right? That's the first question. Cal, interrupt me anytime you'd like.
Let me just say the Fab Five, and then we'll add, so put the bones out there, and then we can put the meat on the bones. How's that sound? Okay, so the Fab Five are, what's happening? Just like Erika said, daytime or nighttime, indoors or outdoors, alone or with someone. Boom, there they are, they're doing something. If they're with someone, I'll further build the Gestalt by saying, who's there? All right, then what's happening? What does that make you think, or what are you thinking? Okay, how does that make you feel, or how are you feeling? Or how do you feel about that? How old are you? Okay, and then is it familiar or new? Now, that's the Fab Five. What's happening? What are you thinking, feeling? How old are you? Familiar or new? Now, I like to put in their age. How old are you as soon as possible, but it doesn't make sense to do it until I find out what's happening. So a typical order for me would be slightly different than what I gave you, and that is, what's happening? They say, oh, I'm riding my bicycle. And I'd say, okay, riding your bicycle. How old are you? I'm 5. Okay, 5, riding your bicycle. What are you thinking about riding the bicycle, or whatever the event is that we're working on? All right, now I give it back to you.
All right, very good. You asked the age second. Okay, cool. I like that. I love putting the age when we're talking to our clients because it helps them to understand there's no question who we're talking to. We are talking to Five, who's riding his or her bicycle, right? There's no question in the minds of our clients who we are referring to at that point. Okay, Five, riding your bicycle. Okay, so one of the things that I wanted to come up with here today was the distinction between how does that make you feel and how are you feeling? The reason I'm bringing this up is because it's come up in my classes a number of times where students have been using the language, how are you feeling, instead of how does that make you feel? And so I wanted to bring this up today so that people could understand, you know, the distinction between those two and how one is preferred usually so that we get better results for our clients. So Cal, do you want to address that? Because, you know, you had some really cool things to say before the session here, before the recording session on this topic.
Okay, so we got to keep in mind that our client comes in for something. For example, they might come in for fear of heights, or they might come in for perfectionism, or they might come in for smoking or eating too much. And when we do the age regression, we want to bring up the one feeling most closely associated with the problem. So we say something like, in a moment count from 1 to 5, and the one feeling that has everything to do with why you have this whatever problem comes up as strong, as powerful as ever has. And from that we can do affect bridge, or we can do time tunneling technique. So it's important that we find the emotion most closely associated with the behavior or the symptom or whatever it is we're working on. And then once we find it, we don't want to lose it, or we don't want to bring in a lot of extraneous feelings. Oh gosh, I'm just itching to give you guys an insider technique. Is that okay, Erika?
Yes, please. That's what we're here for.
Okay. So, a basic fundamental way to do age regression is to get somnambulism, and then you bring up the feeling associated with the problem and then follow it back. Do not ask them what the feeling is when you bring it up in this, because they're in your office, they're hypnotized, and to bring up that feeling, people may misname it. So that's why we got the Fab Five. Once we bring them back to an earlier event, then we find out what's happening, what are you thinking, what are you feeling, how old are you, and is it familiar or new? Now, there is a hack, and that is, I can just tell them I'm going to count, this is date-time regression. Date-time regression hack for age regression, leading into affect bridge or time tunnel. Okay? And that is, I'm going to count from 5. So here they are in somnambulism. I don't bring up the feeling. I say a moment, I'll count from 5 back to 1, and it's going to be a time when you were blanking, whatever it was. You know, you are about to drink, or you're about to bite your nails, or you're about to have to speak in front of public and you're having that fear, or whatever it is. So I just do a date-time regression to a time when they were having that experience. Okay, and this can be a kind of a faster, more effective way than having it come up in the chair that day that they're visiting you. So, for example, I'll say in the pre-hypnosis interview, I say, you know, give me a thumbnail sketch of the history of the problem, blah 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 blah, and I would simply say, so when's, like, did this happen last week? Have you had this problem lately? And they say, well, of course. And I say, well, when was that? And they go, well, like yesterday. Okay, boom, now I know I can regress to yesterday when they're having the problem, and everything I need to know about the problem is there. So I'm going to say, I got them in somnambulance, and I'm going to count from 5 back to 1. We're going to go back to that time when you told me you were having the problem yesterday. Here we go, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Be there. Is it daytime or nighttime? Indoors, outdoors, alone or with someone? And then what happens is we really get the mind of the client who's in my chair out of the way, and I get into the frame of the mind of the person who's experiencing the problem. And so right then I find out what's happening, what are they thinking, what are they feeling. Now the how old are you is not important in this case, because I mean it's just yesterday. And then is that feeling familiar or new? and then we can regress further on it. What do you think of that, Erika?
I think that's fantastic, and I love using the date-time age regression, especially if clients have had recent experiences with whatever's going on in their life. It's right there, it's really bothering them, the feelings are fresh, it's really kind of hot, like I like to say, it's right there. So yeah, absolutely love that technique. Thank you, Cal. As far as the using that, though, I think one of the things that we want our students or grads at Hypnotists to understand is if you ask a general question like, how are you feeling in the age regression, they might go off track and answer in a way that doesn't have to do with the original reason or the original feeling that came up that brought them in to see you, right?
Yeah, exactly. This is one of the things we talked about is the difference between how does that make you feel and how are you feeling. So remember that the age regression, no matter how we initiated it, be time tunnel or affect bridge or date time regression, once we get them back there, then we're finding out what's happening and what they're thinking. And then the way you feel is directly connected to what you're thinking. So you say, well, what's happening? Blah, blah, blah. What does that make you think? Blah, 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 blah. And how does that make you feel? You see, gives us the emotion that's associated with what's going on and their way of thinking about it. Where if we just take them back, daytime, nighttime, indoors, outdoors, alone or with someone, and how do you feel? Wow, we could get all kinds of stuff. We could be regressing on fear of heights. And now they're at the beach, and they're excited, or they might be happy, or they might even be on the beach by themselves, and they feel lonely, which is a painful feeling, and we don't want to get them now affect bridging off of lonely, because that has nothing to do with the problem that they came in to see us for. So we want to really be laser focused on the emotion or the symptom that they came in to work on. So we don't use the general term, oh, so how are you feeling? It's how does that make you feel? Is that what you wanted?
Absolutely, and I think that's really important because it's such an easy fix, and it's so easy to keep in mind. What does that make you think? And what does that make you feel, right? So just keep that in mind when you're doing age regression to keep your client laser beam focused on that particular situation. It's a really easy thing to remember and use as a technique when you're doing age regression with your client. So I just wanted to highlight that as being, I'm going in advanced language, but Cal, this really is the essential language in order to do really highly effective age regression to keep our clients focused on that particular experience that is causing them the problem, right?
Right. And we're running a little bit long on this episode, but it's really worth it. Some other things I want to get into real quick, you don't have to write an encyclopedia about this stuff, is the other most important thing is you must stay in present tense. Don't use words that are past tense. Never use the word remember, because you've gone to all this work to get to 5-year-old or 7-year-old or even 3-year-old them, and then you say something and you say, can you remember what happened next? Well, 5 or 4 or 3-year-old self doesn't remember it, they're reliving it. And so what happens is when you say, can you remember, or please remember, then what happens is that calls in adult aspect of themselves, because it is the adult, the person now, that can remember. So you want to stay away from remember, you want to stay away from past tense. You always want to go there in your mind with the individual as if it was happening all over again. Anything you want to add to the tense?
Well, I mean, since you brought it up, it's so important if our clients are speaking in last tense, all we have to do, it's really easy. We want to model the behavior that we want for our clients. So if our client says, I was riding my bike, here's what you say back to them, something like this. There you are, you're riding your bike. You just easily change it. You're not going to say to your client, don't talk like that or anything like that. You want your client to feel really good. So, I was riding my bike. Good. There you are, you're riding your bike. Continue. Right, Cal?
Beautiful, elegant way to do it. The other thing I want to get in real quick since we're on the subject is congruent tone. If you're talking to your client who's regressed to 3, you want to have congruent tone and congruent language. You want to use the kind of words and the kind of tone that matches the 3-year-old ability to understand. And also, if 3 is excited, you want to sound excited. If 3-year-old is sad, then you want to talk with the kind of tone you would use when you're talking to a sad 3-year-old. If you start sounding all clinical and analytical and using clinical and analytical words, you will pull them out of the regression and you'll be talking to grown-up again. There you go.
Love it. We could probably go on and on with these advanced parts of age regression. I think I have a little bit of your love of age regression in me too, Cal, because there's a lot of really amazing things that I just love how you have succinctly put these things together for me and my grads and all the other hypnotists to use in session with clients to get really great results for our clients using age regression.
Are we done?
We are done. Yes. Thank you, everyone, for joining today. I'm Erika Flint, and you can find me at CascadeHypnosisTraining.com, and I hope to see you in class.
Thank you, Erika. I'm, of course, Cal Banyan, and I want to see you in class, calbanyan.com. I got all my live courses. And so 2 ways to become a 5-pather. One is through live training. The other is through DVD training or video training. And the other thing is I want to mention, so I am obviously a certified 5-path trainer. So, Erika is, and then we've also, we have a link below to a list of our 5-path trainers around the world, because I know not everybody can get to Bellingham, Washington, or even Dallas, Texas. With that, Cal Banyan, signing off. This recording is the property of Cal Banyan and the Banyan Hypnosis Center for Training and Services, Incorporated. All rights reserved, for private use only, may not be duplicated without permission. For contact information, go to www.hypnosiscenter.com.